everyone, I'm Jason Odell. Thanks for joining me today. And today I'm going to be reviewing the Metabones Nikon to Fuji X-mount speed booster adapter. I'm going to be comparing it with a regular adapter. This is a Fotodiox Pro Fuji X-mount to Nikon F-mount adapter. Now, let me talk about adapters for a brief moment here. If you've got a Fuji X-mount camera, so this is an X-T1 or any of the Fuji X bodies, there may be times when you want to mount your existing lenses on them. In my case, I've got a whole bunch of Nikon glass, so here's a 16 to 35 lens that I like to use. And if you find yourself in that situation, there may be times when you want to do that. You need to get an adapter, and there's a wide range of adapters available, and you can get these online from site sponsor B&H Photo and other places. But the idea is that in its simplest form, an adapter is going to allow you to mount your Nikon lens or your Canon lens on one side and then mount it to your Fuji X body on the other side. Now, I'm going to start with this Fotodiox adapter. This is probably the least expensive. You can get this one for about $70. It has a metal F-mount ring on the one side. It has a plastic, well, this might be metal. It looks like a black aluminum, kind of looks like plastic mount on the other side. Nothing fancy about this. It has 4 click stops for aperture, which are approximations. The idea is that you get the connection to couple the aperture control on your lens to your camera. Now, when you use this adapter, any of these adapters, everything is going to be manual. Manual focusing, you have to stop down manually, and metering will work with the aperture priority modes, but you're not going to be able to dial in specific aperture values, f-stops from your camera. So you've got to do everything from the lens here, and your camera is going to read out that it shows f0. It's not going to know what lens. There are no electrical contacts in any of these adapters. Now, one little thing before I go on is that if you want to use an adapter with your Fuji camera, there's a menu that you need to go into. There's menu in the X-T1, it's the camera menu 3, and there's an item that says shoot without lens. And by default, that's disabled. It says off, which means you can't take pictures when there's no lens connected. Now, when you're using your Fuji lenses, it doesn't matter because there's an electrical connection. It understands that you have the lens attached. It takes a picture. But if you put an adapter on, or any non-Fuji lens that doesn't, manual lenses, like if you have a, I have a Samyang fisheye lens for Fuji, it's not going to let you take pictures unless you change this shoot without lens mode to be enabled. So you need to make sure it says on and it's turned on. Once you've done that, then you can use these and you take pictures. Otherwise, you're going to be frustrated. Now, these inexpensive adapters are great. What you pay for as you go up in price into the other brands, Novaflex makes them, Metabones makes them, you're getting a little better construction, you are getting more aperture control. Like I said, this one's bare bones. It's Fotodiox and it works great, but I only have 4 options for aperture. I can be wide open, stopped all the way down, and then 2 approximations in between on this ring. One other thing to notice when you buy an adapter, you need to make sure you're getting the adapter that will work with your particular lens. If you use Nikon G-type lenses like what this one is, and most of the newer lenses are, they don't have an aperture ring built in. You need to make sure you get a lens adapter that specifies that it works with the Nikon G lenses. Okay, so always check that before you buy something. Now, what about mounting this on? So the way you work this is I like to put the adapter onto the lens first, and there's some markings on here. Just click it on and then mount the lens with adapter to the camera. And once you do that, everything's good. You can turn it on, you can look through the viewfinder. It's reading out, I have this camera set into aperture priority mode, and basically what it's going to give me here is it says f0, and I can get a shutter speed value, and I can change ISO. I can use auto ISO. I can use any of those functions that are not trying to control the lens. But all of my aperture control and focus control are going to be manual. And if you're using the Fuji and you use manual focus, I recommend putting the camera into manual focus mode, and in the focus assist, I recommend turning on the focus peaking so that you can see those little white or colored peak lines show up. So enable your focus peaking. That's going to help you assist you with your manual focus, whether it's on the LCD or through the electronic viewfinder. Okay, now on to the Metabones speed booster adapter. Now this one is a special case because unlike the other ones by Novaflex, Metabones, Fotodiox, this guy is real expensive, and it is also got an element in it. So let's take a look at this one. This one costs, unlike the basic Metabones adapter, which is about between $99 and $140. This one costs $479. So what the heck is going on here? That's a lot of money for an adapter. You better have a darn good reason to get it. Well, two reasons why you might want this. First of all, the construction is absolutely excellent. Moreover, it has a 7-stop range aperture ring. It's clickless, so it just moves smoothly through the range here. And each increment on this represents roughly 1 stop down from where you were before. So if I have an f4 lens and I move this to position number 1, I'm going to be roughly f5.6. Again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. I tested this out. I watched the shutter speeds change. Like I said, solid metal construction, but this guy's a little different because it has a lens element inside it, and that is something different. So what is going on with this adapter? Let's put it on here and see what happens. The speed booster does two things. The first thing is that this lens element is going to focus the light from your FX Nikon lenses. Now this is for FX lenses. This is not for DX lenses. The Fuji sensor, the Fuji X sensor, is APS-C, so roughly 1.5x crop factor. So when you put on a lens, whatever the focal length, it's going to operate as a lens that is 1.5 times longer. So you're cropping off the edges. Well, the interesting thing here, and what you're paying this extra money for, is that this element inside this adapter is going to focus that light onto the sensor, and it's going to allow you to get the full frame. That's pretty cool. So this one actually delivers a crop factor of 0.71. So the approximation when you add this in is that you almost get full frame coverage again. So you're taking this cropped sensor and we're taking this image area from the lens and we're refocusing it onto the sensor to get the full coverage. So instead of behaving like a cropped lens, which would be in this particular case, 24 millimeters angle of view, we're back to getting pretty much close to our original angle of view that we would have on a full frame camera. So that's cool. The other little side effect of this is that because more light is coming in through this lens that we're focusing, we gain an effective f-stop in terms of the amount of light. So even though my aperture on this lens is f4, I have effectively 1 stop faster. I'm getting enough light to make it behave like I'm shooting at f2.8, which can be really useful in lower light situations because you're going to get faster shutter speeds. So why did I go out and get this particular adapter? Is it because I want to use Nikon lenses with my X-T1? Actually, no. I have my X-T1 is great, and I really like using Fuji lenses for it. And again, most of the time you're going to want to use manufacturer's lenses because they're going to autofocus, they're going to meter, all of those things are just designed, they're going to have stabilization. All the features in your other brand lenses, other than the optics, are pretty much lost when you use an adapter, no matter what camera that you're using. So I don't get VR, I don't get autofocus, or any of those features. But I do get the opportunity to use this glass. So if you've got some lenses lying around that maybe are different focal lengths, or that you haven't purchased lenses for your Fuji X body, then that's a consideration, because you can spend $150 or even less than that and get a simple lens mount adapter. For me, it's a slightly different story, and that is I like to use my Nikon lenses for infrared. And I have a Fuji X-E1 that I use as an infrared converted camera. And when I'm traveling, it's nice to be able to tuck that little camera in my bag and then still use all the Nikon glass that I brought with me to use with my D810. So either way, it works for me. I can have a Fuji kit of Fuji lenses, or I can have a hybrid kit where I don't need to double up on everything. I can use different lenses, and that's really useful. So this Metabones Speed Booster F-mount adapter, let me just recap. It's really well made. It comes in this case here, which includes a little Arca Swiss compatible foot. Now I removed it so that I could mount this to my tripod with the L bracket that I have here. This is a really right stuff L bracket. When I had the lens foot on there, it kind of bumped. I couldn't mount the lens on. So you can remove it. Really nicely made. Gives me that extra angle of view like I'm using this lens on a native full frame camera. It just costs a lot of money. So my recommendation is that if you're using crop sensor like Nikon DX lenses with a Fuji X-mount, don't even spend your money on this. Go get one of the other adapters that is going to be without any lens elements. You're not going to want to use it. It won't work. Go ahead and get one of these inexpensive ones if you just want to play with it on occasion. But the extra money is definitely clear that this does work according to what they say on the website, that you gain that extra stop of light and you gain the extra angle of view. So thanks again for checking it out. I'm Jason Odell. Visit my website at luminescentphoto.com.